And the only people who are going to benefit are big law firms in Washington, D.C., because they are going to go after every single president. They'll start with Obama. Fast and Furious, right, where he gives 2,000 weapons to cartel members. And then they'll go to Obama, where he weaponized the IRS against conservatives. They'll probably go after Joe Biden for having cocaine in the White House. They'll go after Biden then for raiding his opponent's home. They'll probably go after him after that for literally 2 weeks before the 2022 primaries, literally depleting the petroleum national, reserves, so he could lower gas prices by 4 cents and hopefully help him actually in the polls. I mean, where do you want to stop? Are they going to go after George Bush for lying about, weapons of mass destruction? Where does this stop, Maria? The only people that are going to win are going to be the lawyers in Washington, D.C. The floodgates are going to open, and I guarantee you Joe Biden will not have 1 foot outside of the White House doors before they start going after him legally, ruthlessly. Presidents need immunity in this country. And so what do? They use legal lawfare. It came out the other day that Biden directed the FBI raid on my father's home. Obviously, Bragg is a Soros-paid, DA, no different than Fannie. They want to torture my father, but no one is believing it. Right now, Maria, New York is falling. Right? You have homelessness through the roof. You have women being pushed in front of trains. You have cops that are being assassinated in their squad cars. You have little kids that are being shot in Times Square, and they're going after a guy for a $130,000 payment. Every day they close the courtroom. They close the streets around the court. It costs 20 times that. Every time they shut down the FDR Drive, it costs 50 times that. No one believes it. All while in New York, you can't go into Duane Reade. You can't go into CVS and buy skin lotion because it has to be locked behind plexiglass because theft is so high. And the DA's entire focus is Donald Trump? Give me a break. The country does not believe it. But this guy's not going to make it. He can't. He can't get down a pair of stairs. He can't finish a sentence. He can't read off a teleprompter without some kind of gaffe.
Well, look, I mean, this is a bigger issue than just President Trump. I mean, this is about two different systems of justice. And I want to get your take on whether or not that is, in fact, resonating on people. Because until the election, we're going to see this split screen. I mean, you're talking about all of these indictments against President Trump and DAs wanting to go to trial before the election. Is it impacting people's perception of what's going on? I mean, President Trump is still leading President Biden in all of those swing states, and yet we see pictures of President Biden campaigning freely and attacking Trump, and you see your father, President Trump, sitting in that courtroom all day.
Maria, it's a law of unintended consequences, and the Democrats, for whatever reason, haven't figured this out, and they mess it up every single time. No different than Russia, no different than everything else. It's the law of unintended consequences. Biden goes to Pennsylvania, and 0 people show up. Literally, I go to any rally, and I have 100 times more people than Biden had 2 weeks ago in Pennsylvania. Yet my father, at 6:30 in the morning, goes out, and he has every union worker on the biggest job in New York chanting USA, USA, USA before they're even opening their eyes. That's how early it is. He goes to Harlem, and he has massive crowds around a bodega, and this is literally a pop-up event, right? So with all the power of Air Force One and with all the power of the executive branch, Biden can't have anybody show up, yet my father is drawing these massive crowds, is fundraising the likes of which no one has ever seen before for the presidency. People want America back. People want to be prideful in this country again. People want a cheerleader for this nation. We've become an embarrassment to the entire world. We're getting ripped off. Wars are breaking out all over the place. Protests are happening. You have people in this country who are chanting death to America. Death to America in the United States of America. The whole world is up in arms. The economy stinks. Inflation, they can't keep it under control. The market's dropping, as you've seen over the last week. People can no longer afford to live. Rent is through the roof. I mean, where do you want me to stop?
Yeah.
The world is crazy right now. The Middle East is on fire. When it was perfect under my father. They want our world back. They want stability again.
It's very disturbing. The Supreme Court is now weighing this monumental case on whether or not President Trump has immunity from prosecution. We saw some of the hearing this week, and it felt like, listening to some of those Supreme Court justices, that they were willing to admit to some or acknowledge some immunity. What did you take away from what you heard from the Supreme Court this week, and when do you expect a decision?
Well, God help us if they get it wrong. That's what I take away. I know the system very, very well. And the only people who are going to benefit are big law firms in Washington, D.C., because they are going to go after every single president. They'll start with Obama. Fast and Furious, right, where he gives 2,000 weapons to cartel members. And then they'll go to Obama, where he weaponized the IRS against conservatives. They'll probably go after Joe Biden for having cocaine in the White House. They'll go after Biden then for raiding his opponent's home. They'll probably go after him after that for literally 2 weeks before the 2022 primaries, literally depleting the petroleum national, reserves, so he could lower gas prices by 4 cents and hopefully help him actually in the polls. I mean, where do you want to stop? Are they going to go after George Bush for lying about, weapons of mass destruction? Where does this stop, Maria? The only people that are going to win are going to be the lawyers in Washington, D.C. The floodgates are going to open, and I guarantee you Joe Biden will not have 1 foot outside of the White House doors before they start going after him legally, ruthlessly. Presidents need immunity in this country. If they don't, their entire tenure as president is literally going to be filled in depositions and subpoenas like they've tried to do to my father for the last 8 years. We can't have this legal lawfare in this country. We need a president to actually be able to function and run the United States of America.
So are you expecting that in June, a decision from the Supreme Court? What are you expecting?
Well, I certainly hope that presidents have absolute immunity. And if they don't, they're not going to be able to function as presidents of the United States. You're going to have a president that literally every single day, Biden, hey, when they withdrew from Afghanistan, 13 service members were killed. Is that manslaughter because he was incompetent? I mean, where do you draw the line, Maria? You better have presidential immunity, because that's an awfully tough job. Tough decisions are made every single day. Mistakes are made, and presidents can't be prosecuted.
Yeah, I think this week there's a day off that the former president is expected to go campaign, but he has been unable to do the kind of campaigning that President Biden is doing. But this week he will be going to what, Michigan and Wisconsin on the 1 day off?
That's right. He's going all over the place, and his stamina, Maria, I've never seen anything like it in my life. I mean, I've just never seen it. He'll be in trial all day long, relentlessly being attacked by a corrupt judge. Whose literally family is apparently profiting off of this whole thing, only to step out and go do events at bodegas and wake up and speak to union workers and go to Michigan and go to Pennsylvania and go to Ohio and go to all the other swing states. The guy is really a remarkable human being, and I love him to death, and I'm proud of him. And I think the whole world knows his backbone and his toughness, and it's exactly who we need behind the Resolute desk in Washington, D.C. It's the exact person we need in the Oval Office.
Well, he certainly has been able to raise money during all of this. Your wife, Lara Trump, is now the co-chair of the RNC. What kind of a difference do you believe she is making? A lot of people want to understand what the Republicans are doing to ensure election integrity. I know that's one of her key priorities, correct?
It's everything. And making sure that not a penny is wasted, election integrity. In fact, she showed up at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night. She went into the pit of snakes, to say the least, and into the swamp. And they had a couple remarks about her on stage, which means she's doing something very effectively. The last time they did that was when Obama hit my father on stage, and then he went to win the White House. So the fact that they're talking about her at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, I think, is validation that she's doing a hell of a job, and I'm proud of her. She's an amazing wife. She's an amazing person. She's smart as hell. She's working tirelessly. She's really changed with the whole group of our team. She's changed the RNC and made them into an incredible organization. And we are going to have victory in November.
You see the tactics they're using right now against Donald Trump. They are communist in nature. We can't leave anything to chance in this election. ProtectTheVote.com. If you want to come volunteer to be part of our election integrity team, these things are vital, because look at where we are right now and look at the date. We've got 6 months to go in this campaign cycle. You know they're going to pull out all the stops. This is not the end of what you'll see out of this clown show.
All right, Laura Trump.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
It's not about justice. It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.